So I want to start this video with actually just a quick disclaimer that we're going to be going into pretty heavy topics regarding politics, anti-Semitism, and aspects of anti-Blackness and racial relations, amongst other things in this conversation. Also, I will be referring to Kanye West as Ye, the legal name that they have changed it to. Take with that what you may. I might once in a while mention Kanye by accident. But I'm trying to go with the actual legal name. Anyways, hi everyone, it's me again, and Squish Gang is present. How do I... They're over there. And today we're going to be talking about Kanye West and the recent downfall that he has gone through. Also, do not mind me darting around because this is an actual camera. I've been recording on my iPhone for the last couple years. So, video is chaptered if you want to skip around because there will be a little bit of housekeeping at the beginning of this video. Take with that what you may. So, there will be the parts down below. Anyways, so yeah, like I mentioned, this is an actual camera. This is such an unbelievable moment for me personally, because it's something that I've always wanted and have never been able to actually have. And I never thought I would actually be able to afford. So it's literally just thanks to this job that I've been able to get this. And it's such an incredible feeling for me. And I'm just so happy. I want to thank you all so much. And I know it's something as small as like a camera, but when you kind of like grew up how I did, and you know, it was a DSLR or a mirrorless camera was like the last of anyone's concerns when it came to how to spend money in the house. So just stuff like this is just so mind-blowing. And also, I would like to do some sort of 20K-esque live stream. I'm thinking Friday, the Friday of when this video comes out. So that would be, let me check, November 4th. That just depends on if I have like stuff due, because I kind of have to check. Yeah, so I imagine that this video looks different as well. We'll see how this goes. Let me know if you have any suggestions or anything. I've never actually had like a nice camera before. So sources, links, Amazon, Patreon, all that kind of stuff linked down below, as well as like my general contact information that you can access for me. Also, if this setup's a little bit bizarre, I can't afford a lot of the other attachments for the camera because I paid for it outright. So things like I have like a flash and stuff, and it's also kind of on like a weird little tripod-y type beat. For this video, I've also gathered opinions for parties that were actually affected by Kanye West's statements, or Ye's statements. You've already done it. That's going to be the final section of the video, where it's going to be kind of just statements from other parties, and then I'll kind of put in my opinion a little bit here and there. So the three parts of the video in general are going to be part one, the last few years in the world of Ye. We're just going to catch up a little bit to see what got us here in the first place. Part two, the recent interview cycle that he's been in. And part three, voicing the opinions of those that are affected, like I mentioned. We're going to get into the last few years of Ye, right? Or, you know, when this started, still legally Kanye West. Or now legally named Ye, is one of the most famous rap music artists and producers ever, who has had many successful music projects, financial endeavors, businesses, brands, etc. Until recently, when a lot of these things have fallen through as a result of his actions. He's always been a controversial figure, whether that be his fashion sense, his ego, public demonstrations of his opinions, and the list goes on. The way that he even ran his own fashion brand, right? Yeezy. I want to focus primarily on the political shift of the Ye persona. I would say that, at least in my opinion, the most dramatic shift began at the infamous 2015 VMA Awards, which was when Kanye West announced that he was going to run for US president in 2020.
I have decided in 2020 to run for president.
When he had an exception speech that he essentially ran for this like super long monologue for a way over time and then ended it with announcing candidacy. I feel like this is a pinnacle moment for a few reasons, and some of them are quite obvious. I feel that this was a pinnacle moment where Ye shifted from someone with power and political opinions as somewhat separate entities to someone who has tied his power to a political agenda, right? So when you're going from, Katy Perry endorsing Hillary Clinton to being like a Donald Trump character, right? Those are two separate, where Donald Trump took his fame from Celebrity Status, Celebrity Apprentice, that kind of stuff, and then utilized that to run for president versus Katy Perry, a celebrity helping someone else advance politically. Those are two separate things, right? Essentially, it's the shift from Bush doesn't care about black people to meeting Donald Trump in the White House to further a political agenda and try to open Donda Academy, right? Ye had appeared to have broken his promise to run for the 2020 election, given that he had not announced any sort of candidacy until the year of 2020, which also, U.S. elections are well known for taking forever. Like, they run for so long. So he actually announced his candidacy on July 4th, on Independence Day, that he was going to run for president, and he was under, according to Wikipedia, the birthday party / independent affiliation. I don't understand how US politics works. In that sense, I don't know what birthday party means, so feel free to educate me on that. I don't know if they're the same thing, if those are synonyms. However, given that he registered so late, he had missed the deadline for at least 6 different states. To my recollection, the deadline is in February. Maybe that's just me completely making that up, but February for some reason sounds right to me. I didn't check that ahead of time. I just remembered that as something. But feel free to tell me what that would be. This is not a video about the structures of US politics. So I want to go through what he ran for on his political platform, because I feel like that's something that was very indicative of where we've gotten to now. So here are the following platforms that he has run on. Again, I'm checking my notes if you see what I'm looking down. When I was recording on my phone, because of the framing, it was a little bit less obvious. But Ye is against abortion, claiming that Democrats push Plan B on the black population as a form of voter suppression, and that Planned Parenthood was run by white supremacists to do the devil's work. Some of these things are pretty similar to kind of a lot of the points that he's been spewing in the interviews. That's why Black Twitter's been on Ye's ass for a very long time. I feel like the rest of the world is catching up now, which is kind of common because of the suppression of black voices online. He said, and I quote, "Black people need to stop focusing on racism, but does advocate to end police brutality, stating that police are people too." Can't take with that what you may. I'm gathering based on the interviews that Ye's thinking that there's some sort of maybe victim complex that's tying into things, because he sees himself as someone who is able to surpass all of these things, because we'll get into that with the interviews. But to make things short, Kanye was saying, Ye was saying that he has been able to take the position of the cis hetero white man because of power and wealth, despite not understanding that the very people that he is advocating for will always think lesser of him, because white supremacy is just that, whiteness, not necessarily power-based. He states that he would like to get rid of the 13th Amendment, and that is a loophole for slavery. I've heard that argument before. That's not necessarily something that no one's ever said before, and I do think there is some truth to that as an idea. This is where we start to get a little bit dicey. We'll use the word dicey. I think dicey's good. Welfare was a plot of the Democratic Party to make black people dependent on them. He's essentially saying that the Democratic Party has crafted a welfare state to make black people dependent on taking welfare from the state. That they will not be able to break free from the cycles of poverty as a result of getting money from the government. Many were pointing out before, this is an anti-black conspiracy, and that there were a lot of ideologies that Kanye was forming, Ye was forming, that were these types of sentiments. And again, people took so long to listen, which is so strange. But just overall, upon running for office, it became ever more clear that Ye was running on very conservative values and ideologies that were bridging or outright conspiratorial in nature. And I think because people saw it as some sort of ego trip, that he would only kind of do it for some sort of maybe popularity. But we've seen that this has spiraled beyond even his own well-being. So that's going to be a prominent part of this as well. So things began to spiral completely out of control, in my opinion, this year after March 2nd, when Kim Kardashian filed for divorce and quickly after began dating Pete Davidson. This is because he began to, he being Ye in this case, began to outright harass Pete Davidson. This is where the Skeet meme kind of came from, Skeet Davidson. Also, he depicted Pete Davidson's death in one of his music videos and bought the house across the street from Kim Kardashian's home. Now we can see, too, the recent interview cycle has led to Ye losing essentially everything. He's even lost his billionaire status. And this began after debuting his White Lives Matter t-shirt with Candace Owens at Paris Fashion Week this year, just after walking the red carpet with Balenciaga. So this is where we're going to bridge into our second part of the video, which is said interview cycle. So Ye has been on the following interviews recently. These are not in order. And feel free to comment any if I forgot them, because I think I got them all, because there's a lot, but Ye likes talking. So do I, girl, though. No hate. No hate on the talking part, on the wanting to talk part, but the rest of it, there's some. Feel free to comment any if I forgot or corrections on them. But so Ye was on with Piers Morgan, News Nation with Chris Cuomo, Fox News with Tucker Carlson, the Drink Champs podcast. Just prior to Paris Fashion Week, Ye was Good Morning America. Hello. The Lex Friedman podcast. And there was an upcoming episode of The Shop Uninterrupted, which was pulled for hate speech. So many of the interviews came after Ye made the following tweet, which I'll actually look up, where Ye said the following: "I am a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I am going DEFCON 3, a bunch of spaces, in all caps, on Jewish people." The funny thing, this uncomfortable sounds, by the way. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone whoever presses your agenda. I'm going to bridge into summarizing essentially the main points of Ye's interviews. I'm going to summarize, I'm going to group them kind of together because Ye essentially repeats the same things over and over and over again in each of these interviews. I think I've seen all of them, if not almost every single one. So here are the main points, because Ye refuses any pushback, even if it's quite kind pushback, because you can see like Piers Morgan, for example. I'll put clips in here and there, of course, as well. Like Piers Morgan like pushes and he's yelling over him and stuff, but like Lex Friedman's like very kind and like calming. So given that many executives and rich individuals that Ye has deemed have wronged him are allegedly Jewish, because the other thing is, the accuracy of that is also questionable to some extent, given that he's using like a 4chan anti-Semitism meme to have this chart of who's Jewish. So the sourcing for that even is a little bit, questionable at best. But because these people are allegedly Jewish, he has stated that the media itself is a Jewish conglomerate controlled by Jewish people. Ye says that he is Jew, not Jewish. Those are different. That's from, mentioned in the tweet as well. Which, to what I've gathered, because it's a bit confusing, is apparently an ideology of Black Israelites, I believe that's what they're called, that humanity has originated from Africa, and that Black people, I believe, are one of the original tribes of Judah. Now, if you're wondering why I'm hedging that so much, it's because one, Ye's very unclear, and it's very confusing, and bounces around all the time. It keeps going like, well, I can't say that. I can't point out that they're Jewish. I'm being silenced. So it's a bit confusing, but also because a lot of this is like conspiracy stuff, or quite conspiratorial. And frankly, like, it's gonna sound selfish, but after like the Sneeko video where I ended up like deep in the depths of BitChute, I don't want to do it again. If you want to click off because of that, that's fine. Because I don't want to go down. I don't want to start looking up at that stuff again because it was very jarring. And that's for me, someone who's not directly affected. So like I could not imagine the feelings that like Jewish people are having and Black people are having as a result of, and people who even with bipolar disorder are feeling as a result of Ye's actions here. Abortion causes the most murders of Black people in all of America, and Planned Parenthood are run by white supremacists and are eugenicists. This is what Ye is saying. He said this in a ton of interviews. When people talk about how, let's say, the Holocaust happened to Jewish people, Ye will say that there is a current Holocaust against Black people because of abortion, and that 50% of Black murder is abortion, which is not true.
Okay, so everyone came from Africa.
I'm African. I'm basically African American. We're brothers.
And we're both Jew, and we're brothers. So
we're human.
6 million people died in the Holocaust. Over 20 million have died by the hands of abortion. And the media promotes the My Body, My Choice, which is actually still a promotion for Planned Parenthood. 50% of Black deaths a year is actually abortion. It's not the cop with the knee. It's not Black on Black violence and gang violence. It's not heart attacks. It's actually abortion. The most dangerous place for a Black person in America is in their mother's stomach.
There's 900 to 1 million abortions in the United States a year. I hear you. But there's something about the rape, the torture, the murder of children, women, men, the complete humiliation, and just the suffering that was endured during World War II.
That's what we deal with on our TVs right now with Black people. Soros would use Black trauma economy to win an election.
That's also like very easily can be checked, like abortion statistics, let alone the fact that like embryos aren't people yet. Again, I'm pro-choice. That's that. I don't want to get too into that right now. Oh, and also that abortion is made to control the Black population and thus control the Black vote, which is why most Black people vote Democrat somehow. Ye's being silenced. He's not allowed to point out that Jewish people have control over the media, nor call it the Jewish media. The George Floyd murder needs to be investigated, one of the only actual investigations, despite the fact that, the fentanyl argument has been debunked by actual, criminal analysis and people with medical degrees and stuff like that, but neither here nor there, I suppose, was the documentary from Candace Owens. So, I just love that, like, Ye has given up, like, 20 years of effort and, uplifting communities and things like that through music and art to spew to Candace Owens' points, which is really iconic, and I love that. As a result of these interviews, right, Ye has been dropped from Vogue, has Instagram and Twitter deleted, has lost his Gap collab, he has lost Balenciaga collaboration with Adidas, which was who housed Yeezy. Stadium tour canceled, Donda Academy closed, and apparently even tried to go allegedly to Skechers to find someone to house the new the Yeezys, and they turned him away. And to make matters worse, recently, as of like I think yesterday as of filming, if not the day before, Kanye or Ye was talked to like on the street or something. There was like paparazzi, and they were asking if he wanted to apologize about the comments on George Floyd, and he said he did, and he understood that the Black community is struggling, and which is interestingly enough at the center of a lot of Ye's opinions, but because of like the bizarre mix of like conspiratorial nature, a lot of them get diluted through his messaging. But unfortunately, because Ye has nobody to check him, will not be checked, ego is flooding everything, and has mentioned that he, has been diagnosed with a mental health disorder and ignored it, saying that a Jewish doctor could have made him into have the same fate as Prince or Michael Jackson. He says that he too understands what it feels like to have a knee on his neck.
There were some things where it was used in order to push us to the Democratic vote. There were people behind it involved. That happened, but the general feeling. So when I said that, and I questioned the death of George Floyd, it hurt my people. It hurt the Black people. So I want to apologize to them, because right now God has shown me by what Adidas is doing and by what the media is doing, I know how it feels to have a knee on my neck now. So I thank you, God, for humbling me and letting me know how it really felt. Because how could the richest Black man ever be humbled other than to be made to not be a billionaire in front of everyone off of one comment that actually, if you look at the definition of DEFCON, it means to get extra defense, which obviously I must have needed.
Yeah.
I must have needed that extra defense.
Are you worried?
I'm not going to say what race, what people, doctor, and what hospital, and what media went to. We know I can't say that. It was a Jewish doctor that diagnosed me of having a disorder that would have had me on medication right now. At a time like this, if I was on medication right now, then one pill could have been swapped out and it would be Michael Jackson and Prince all over again. But because I didn't take the misdiagnosis and I didn't take the medication, I'm able to speak to you guys clear of thought and transparently. Now let me talk about the red hat. Wearing the MAGA hat, the way that Hollywood's political agenda attacked me and put me to a point of exhaustion was death by 1,000 cuts.
So there he mixed conspiratorial nature, anti-mental health, anti-Semitism, and anti-blackness. I don't, all into like one conglomerate, like one sentence somehow. Now, I'm saying I think, because I don't want to say outright, well, there's some things that are obvious, right? Like not advocating for healthcare, the anti-Semitism as well is obviously quite obvious as well. But I want to go into the next part too, which is where we're going to talk about the statements from those that are actually affected. I'm going to read them verbatim from things that people have sent to me, because I put on Twitter when I was asked to film this that I wanted to get opinions from people that have been directly affected by, Ye's anti-Semitic, anti-Black, anti-mental health remarks. So I'm going to look at them. I can actually hold my phone now because I'm not using it. Hey Mika, I just read your tweet. Lifelong Kanye fan here. As a Black person who grew up listening to Kanye, seeing him suffer with his mental health and have his life dramatically spiral out of control has been one of the saddest things I've had to witness. I feel deeply for his family, fans, friends, and his kids. Please excuse me, I will be referring to him as Kanye because I do not know or support Ye, and I refuse to indulge Kanye West in his very intentional decision to separate himself from the weight of his actions to protect his former legacy. While I've never been a stan of anyone, Kanye is the single most influential artist in my life. And there was a point where I had very much hope that some good might come of his bipolar diagnosis, because it seemed to provide some insight into some of his exceedingly strange behaviors, and for a moment I hoped this acknowledgement would bring about positive change. As someone who has previously given little thought to those living with mental illness experiences, suddenly this massive superstar was lending his face to a quiet struggle. It's like as a fan you want to give someone the grace to get better, and surely that doesn't happen overnight. But Kanye's actions have long brought me past the point of hope, and his struggles have been anything but quiet. When Kanye starts spouting off about slavery as a choice, which I'm so surprised I forgot to mention that, and various other dangerous Republican talking points, it reminded me earlier of a moment in his career when I stepped back from supporting him. For example, when he was walking around punching cameraman circa 2013, as annoying as paparazzi are, is that not an irrational response? Or when unapologetically interrupted Taylor Swift's speech in 2009, Kanye felt that our collective ire for Taylor's stolen movement, as well as our sympathy for the passing of his mom, but I always felt like the hip-hop community's reception of his Hurricane Katrina benefit telethon, George Bush hates Black people outburst in 2005 really opened the doors for his later outbursts. Looking back, while impactful, that was wrong too in my opinion. He could have used his platform to address the former president without derailing the charity event. People loved him for keeping it real for the telethon. His arrogance, ignorance, and impulsivity have long cast a shadow on his greatness, like for example when he was trying to co-opt the Confederate flag as a fashion statement circa 2013, despite the very clear and present danger the flag represents, even to people to this day. Now he breaks bread with Fox and Friends and touts the merits of having conversations with wealthy visionaries over the value of reading, while also trying his best to rewrite history. I've learned a lot from Kanye West's monumental fall from grace, but while it's true that mental health matters, so does bigotry and hate speech. Speaking out against Kanye's behavior is not just throwing mentally ill people's well-being to the wayside. I feel like it's one thing to support and stand by people who are struggling with their health in your real life, and caring about mental illness does not mean blindly following and protecting someone who is actively hurting others on such a major scale, like in the case of Kanye. Kanye's platform is far too dangerous to be weaponized against others. For me, remaining silent is not an option, which is why I initially started speaking out against him openly. However, like many people, I've grown tired of giving the attention he seeks. And nowadays, while I may speak out against rhetoric, I always make it a point to leave his name out of it. Kanye's always worn his heart on his sleeve in his music, and I feel like I've seen his lyrics go from metaphorical to autobiographical. The media crucified me like they did Christ, which he said in 2012. But fueling this man's God complex, as a human being, there is a small part of me that wants the best for him. And at the end of the day, I know firsthand how dangerous his hateful rhetoric had been. Kanye's stardom and wealth given proximity to whiteness, power, and privilege that very few Black people may have experienced. I know it can be hard for people on the outside looking in to see that he's lost respect and support from much of the Black community because his fandom is huge and unrelenting. But someone like Sarah Silverman coming out of the woodworks expecting Black people to police him only after personally being attacked by his hateful rhetoric. That's wild to me. Black people are not a monolith. Kanye said violent and indefensible things about God, women, the black community, slaves, historical figures, black women, his mom, and now he's a crusade against Jewish people. Kanye West does not speak for the culture. I mean, for the fact that the guy was out here selling White Lives Matter shirts should speak volumes enough, but the fact that there are people out here constantly provoking black people to do the work of dispelling Kanye. Without Rhetoric is wealthy of moral obligation to subject ourselves to more of his violence and follow his every move, passing on apologies in his wake. Talk about unrealistic. I know he's sick of what he does not diminish the harm. I know that he is sick, but that does not diminish the harm that he is causing. But also do not indulge other black people for being over him, refusing to speak on him. I'm sick and tired of Kanye West, the public figure, not the human being, and I think as a culture we have moved on beyond playing the game of respectability politics. We shouldn't have condemned hate speech or any kind of order to prove our humanity. It is weird for people to expect that. Those are my thoughts. Sorry for the grammar, but I'm in a rush to grab dinner. Hopefully I made some sense to get this in time for your video. If not, no worries. Signed, a fallen Kanye fan. Somebody who is Jewish has DM'd me as well. And I'm probably going to follow up on this a little bit more as a second video, just because I wanted to get this one out soon to kind of talk about it, because I've been thinking about it a lot myself. So I asked this person named, see in French, this Arlette. I'll put the name on the screen because I just don't want to pronounce it wrong. But so I asked, what do you think of the arguments that dismiss the statements as mental health issues? So she said the following. I know this gets said all the time, but there are a lot of people with bipolar out there, and very few of them spew anti-Semitic hate speech to an audience of millions. Obviously, most people with bipolar do not have an audience of millions to spew hate speech at, but regardless of the audience, being bipolar has nothing to do with hating ethnic groups, which is the actual source of the issue. The thing Kanye is saying are not based in a manic state of mind. They're well-established and dangerous conspiracy theories that make our lives substantially worse every day. It doesn't matter what state of mind is when it comes to the damage done against the Jewish community, because people who read and agree with that kind of rhetoric are not the kind of people who care about a person's mental state when they tweet. They're just about seeing their hatred towards Jewish people justified and normalized. And Kanye did exactly that. Unless you live in reality, however, we're talking about conspiracy theorists here. So that was another interesting notion that I kind of wanted to reflect on as well, because it's definitely kind of an aspect of where the line is. I talked about this a ton in my Sneeko video, right? People want to confirm their biases above anything really making sense. People become very, very comfortable with the idea of having someone confirm what they want rather than being able to challenge anything. So we have another comment here, right? So this is someone who says, someone with bipolar disorder here. They go by Spooky Brew on Twitter. I will put the @ right there. His fans use mental illness like a shield, and a lot of what he's doing can be explained as a manic episode with two major caveats. Bipolar does not cause prejudice. He has more than enough money and resources to get the help he needs, and that is sad. So that's something else. That's like the final kind of idea. So I wanted just one person from each kind of group to chime in, right? So we've got some main points here. For one, being like Kanye or Ye or whatever is somebody who is kind of giving a bad name to mental health disorders, especially bipolar disorder, and is kind of conflating the idea that bigotry can be dictated through a manic episode, right? And of course, that's not how that works. These thoughts and these beliefs exist beneath the surface, and so this supposed mania, maybe in this circumstance, would be uplifting those ideas forward, like as if you had like an honesty potion or something. Like the thoughts that are embedded into your mind that are sitting kind of further back are coming forward through this episode and should not be excused as a result of that, especially as somebody who has the resources to not act like this. If you want to affiliate yourself in this way and you want to have beliefs in this way, then it is your responsibility to live your life as a result of those consequences. If you choose not to get treatment, you choose not to be medicated, because again, too, right? Even the concept of seeking the treatment, he's against because he believes that the Jewish doctor will poison him, right? So that's going to be another aspect where you've created the world that you are living in as a result of your actions. And of course, that there is no excuse for these statements and that he has plenty of money to live off of for the rest of his life. So when he's saying that these people are taking food out of his kids' mouths, that's being a bit hyperbolic in that circumstance. Now, voice your opinions down below. This is where we're going to conclude the video. I might follow up on this a bit more as things kind of transpire, and also as I can get more opinions and I can maybe have someone on to talk about this. But to conclude, the recent sociopolitical climate we've seen online and the conspiratorial climate have really reflected how powerful they are here, in the way that they are able to even get someone into their ideologies as mainstream as Kanye West. We've seen a couple of quite like mainstream figures to some extent, such as like the Tucker Carlsons of the world, the Ben Shapiros, all that kind of stuff, that have kind of brought forward this idea. But now they're celebrating with their new figurehead, Kanye West, because celebrities tend to be more left-leaning, at least publicly, which Kanye mentions, or Ye mentions in many different interviews. So this presents a complex conversation too, right, at the intersections of mental health treatment, anti-Semitism, racial and religious politics, and all of that kind of stuff, and how they interact with fame and celebrity status and wealth, and the positions of power that even Kanye associates with whiteness. And I've called him Kanye so many times, but I'm not filming this again. Yay, whatever. I'm a bit too frustrated even to want to think about this more than I already have. But comment down below thoughts, opinions, suggestions, or your own opinions if you're part of the community. And even if you're not, to try to figure out like the general feeling about this whole ordeal. Suggest other comment down below if you wish. My socials are linked down below as well. Amazon, wishlist, Patreon, all that kind of stuff to support the channel. Hopefully I can stream soon. Thank you guys so much for 20,000 subscribers. And you guys have a great day wherever you are. Bye.